If you find a zip tie attached to your car in any area, cut it off immediately. That is a form of tagging, and it makes other kidnappers aware that it's pretty much the go ahead. It means that they watched you, and this is confirmation that this person is vulnerable and they're an easy target. Go ahead and do what you got to do. So you want to cut a zip tag off immediately. If you find a piece of tissue, Kleenex, a small piece of fabric tucked in between your door handle, do not touch it. Chances are that it's laced with a drug that would make you black out and make you easier to abduct. If you have tweezers, use tweezers to remove it. Use latex gloves, but don't touch it. If there's something placed on your car like a holy Bible on the hood or the trunk, I wouldn't even touch that because that's still a decoy. Drive to a safe place and remove it there, because chances are it could have a tracking device in it. It could be laced with something, but you just don't want to touch things because you don't know if they're laced. So whenever you're removing anything, make sure you are in a safe place where there's a lot of lighting, a lot of people around. If not, you wait to remove it when you are. Perhaps consider keeping something disposable in your vehicle that you can use to remove things, so that you don't touch them. Like I said earlier, latex gloves, maybe a box of Kleenex or a roll of paper towels, and use that to actually touch the item to get it off of your car. You just don't want your skin to come into contact with anything in the event that it's laced with drugs. Don't drive home with any item connected to your car because you don't know if somebody is following you, and if your car has been tagged and somebody's watching, well, now you've just led them directly to your home. So drive to a police station, drive to a well-lit parking lot like Walmart in the very front where people are coming in and out. Drive to the home of a big strong man that you know and make sure he comes out so he can be seen to help you remove the thing off the vehicle. Keep a small pair of scissors and some tweezers in your purse in a Ziploc bag so that when you have to use those things to cut anything off or remove anything, you can place it back in the Ziploc bag and then wash it when you get home. Or you can keep some Lysol wipes, sanitized wipes in the car, and after you use the tweezers or scissors, clean them off with that, throw it away immediately, and then place them back in your purse. Still, I would keep them in a Ziploc bag though. They will even use money. They'll roll it up and tuck it within the car door handles. If you see money attached to your car, don't fall for it. Remove it and throw it away. If anyone else has any additional tips, please drop them in the comments because no tip is too much or too little. The more insight we share with one another, the more safe and aware we can be.
This is a PSA to always be aware of your surroundings. I'm gonna try and make this as short as I can, but it's a long story and there's a lot of details. So yesterday I got home from a trip and I took a Lyft from the airport to my house by myself. While I was in the Lyft, I ordered Chipotle to be delivered to my house through their app. The Lyft driver had no reason to think that I was home alone or that no one else was in the house, but he did know that he was dropping me off by myself. Like 10 minutes after I was home, I got a notification on my phone that my driver was here to drop off my food. But this driver knocked on the door and waited, and then knocked again and waited, and knocked 4 times in like a 10-minute time span. And in my head, I'm like, okay, dude, just leave. I'll get the food in a sec. After the 4th time that he knocked and being there for like 10 minutes, he sat down on my porch and stayed there for like 45 minutes. He had no reason to think that I was home alone, but I was, so I wasn't gonna open the door with him right there knowing that I'm by myself. My other deliveries usually just get left on the porch and then they leave. Anyway, so I called my neighbor who was down the street to come up and just kind of see if he'll leave if someone else pulled in the driveway. And he did, but he went and sat in his car. So my neighbor came in my house and the guy stayed in his car for like another 30 minutes and then slowly drove away. After about 10 more minutes, my neighbor was like, okay, hopefully he left. I'm gonna go home, I have an appointment. So my neighbor left and then texted me like 5 minutes later. He didn't leave, he's actually sitting like 3 houses down the street. And now he's talking to a blue van. I checked the porch and I don't have my food. So he waited there for like 45 minutes on my porch, plus another 30 to 45 minutes in his car, and I still didn't get my food. Weird. So now I know that the guy's still down the street, my neighbor's gone at an appointment, and I don't know what to do. So I waited like 20 more minutes, then I got in my car and drove down the street to see if he was still there. He was, and at this point I didn't know what to do. So I called a family friend, and he met me somewhere around my neighborhood. We then drove back to my house, he followed me, came inside, and then we called the police. The cops came, I told them what happened, we were talking a little bit, and then they decided to have another detective come. Once he showed up, they asked if they could search the house and the perimeter of the house, and then we talked about the next steps, basically. They pretty much asked me if my Lyft driver possibly knew that I was home alone, which there was no way he would have known that I was home alone. Obviously, he dropped me off by myself, but he had no reason to think that there was no one inside the house. Then the cops said that they were going to make sure that all the doors and windows were locked and pretty much go back, run the plates on the cars, and see what they can find.
My daughter works late. She gets off at 3 in the morning in a decent sized city. We live in the middle of nowhere out in the country, so we're not accustomed to seeing stuff like this. But like I said, she works in a big city. She gets off at 3 in the morning, drives an hour and 15 minutes to get home. This is the third morning in a row I found one of these on her car in the exact same spot, back passenger door. I didn't know what it was. I just kept cutting it off. This morning when I found it, I went in there and I asked her, I said, what's the deal with the zip tie being on your back passenger handle every morning? For the past 3 mornings, I've cut it off. She said, Dad, I don't know what in the world you're talking about. She said, I didn't know there was a zip tie on there. I said, yeah, there's a zip tie. So I was talking to my brother just a few minutes ago, and I told him, I said, man, 3 mornings in a row, I found a zip tie on I ain't gonna say her name, but my daughter's back passenger door handle. Black zip tie. It's loose, but it's on there. And he works in law enforcement. He's been in law enforcement his whole life. And you could tell when I mentioned that, he got extremely silent. And he said, what'd you just say? And I told him, and he was like, listen, man, cut that off right now. I said, I have been cutting them off. He was like, people that basically steal women, vulnerable women, put them on a car somewhere where it's not easily noticeable for them, but other people who actually do the stealing knows exactly what that means. So basically what this is, you all, is this is a tag. And this alerts anyone who's part of the organization, I'll call it, let them know that that person is vulnerable, they are by themselves, and they're an easy target. So if you've got teenage kids, girls that are out late at night, that are driving, check their car every morning. Look for a black zip tie or anything that stands out and immediately remove it. Looks like my daughter is a target, so she will be prepared. I promise you that. I've been telling y'all to keep your six covered. It's real.
Police, be aware of your surroundings. Please be very, very careful, alert, oriented. Just pay attention. A small story. So yesterday I was pulled up to the gas station. I noticed a van by a lady and she like flew off. I went in, pumped my gas, and as I came back, the same van was like, as I was walking up, pulling behind me towards on the side. So as he pulled up, he's like, hey, by then I'm pumping my gas. He's like, hey, can you help me? Can you help me with gas? I'm like, sure. You need some money? He's like, no. But the whole time I started feeling really nervous. So I'm pumping my gas and he's like inching up closer, like on the side of the other side of the pump. And as he's inching up, he's like, oh, I'm paraplegic. Well, I could get out and I can stand up, but I can only stand long enough to pay. And I'm like, well, if you're paraplegic, I'm looking like, I don't see any wheelchair. Nobody else was with him. But I'm like, if you could stand up long enough to pay, you can pump your own damn gas. And he's like, oh, well, no. I said, well, call the inside the store. The clerks can come and help you. So when I tell you, as I was talking to him, I kind of looked in the seat next to him in the passenger seat. There was duct tape and rope hanging off the seat as if he was like trying to hide it. Behind me on the right-hand side, I see out the corner of my eye a Sprinter van, but he didn't pull up like he's getting gas behind me. He pulled blocking me where the door all they had to do was like fly the door open and push me in. So Another one, like a guy that was pumping his gas, was like, "Do you see this shit? I'm calling the cops. I'm calling the cops. They've been here." And I'm like looking around like, now I don't know. He could have been with them or he could have not been with them. He could have been trying to distract me. But I noticed as I was talking to him, the van was getting like closer. So I'm sharing this story to say, please be very mindful of where you're at, what you're doing. This was in broad daylight. And if this could have happened, it wouldn't have ended well. So please be very alert, open, share with your friends, with your family. Pay attention to what you're doing when you're at. I guess nobody is safe.
Yeah, we're living like in a crazy time right now. It is so sad. Some things are happening at this moment. Like we get into a point, you want to go somewhere, make sure you tell somebody like where you're going, how long it's gonna take you, what time you're gonna be there, what time you're gonna come back. Even if you're driving somewhere, you get to like certain location, text somebody, call somebody, and let the person know like, okay, I'm at this particular location right now. I'm gonna get to my destination at this hour. You know what I mean? Like just keep tab, like just let people know where you're going. It's crazy out here.
You like it? Like it's my car. So I didn't react to that because I would have given away that it's my car. Although I think he already knows because I'll show you. But I went across the street to this TJ Maxx and I sat there for a while. I got help. I made sure he wasn't still out here. When I came back out here, there was a water bottle on my hood. Don't know if the two correlate, but that's never happened to me. I gotta get out of here. I just wanted to say, be aware of your surroundings at all times, especially if you're a woman. Be careful out there. Harper's Point, Cincinnati, be careful, be careful.
So before now, I don't know if you guys have seen this or come across this. Before now, it was like the car seat where they would just put like car seat like in front of your car in the middle of the road. And you know how sentimental women can get, when they see like car seat, you thinking like, oh my God, like there's a baby in there and stuff like that. That was like another tactic that they was using. Now it's like just completely different. Like I said, like be careful, like pay attention to your surrounding wherever you're going, like just be careful.
Where it was when they put